Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial I'll be sharing with you how to cut a female shirt. So if you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Let's dive right into today's video. So first, here is my pattern paper, and to start you need to mark your button allowance. So for your button allowance for a shirt, you can use 2 to 3 inches. So I'll just go ahead and mark that out all the way to the lower part of my pattern. After marking that, I'll go ahead to connect it. So after here, I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline, and the next step I'll take is to go ahead to mark my basic measurement. I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder to bust, shoulder to waistline, and I'll be using the pattern paper as my blouse length or shirt length. So I'll just go ahead and remark all this, and I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line on those points. Next, I'll go ahead to mark my shoulder divided by 2 plus half, and at that point I'll go down by 1 inch. Now I'll place my ruler and I'll connect. After I'm done connecting, I'll go ahead to mark my basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches, and I'll go ahead to connect and extend it all the way to the button allowance of the dress. Next step is to find your armhole, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Mine is 7. I made a mark on that point, and I'll go ahead to draw a straight line. I'll go back there and I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2. Because that same half inch, because this dress has a sleeve, I'll go ahead to draw a straight line, divide what I have there into 2 and mark, go out by ½ inch. Here again, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Now I'll go ahead to connect from that point to the ½ inch in at the armhole and to the upper part of my shoulder. So the next step you want to take is to go ahead to insert your body measurement. But before doing that, I'll go ahead to outline my pattern this way. So at the bust part of my pattern, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. So for this dress, it is actually a free shirt, so you want to add about 2 inches or 3 inches allowance to it, because if you notice, the shirt on the thumbnail is a bit free. So I just added this just because it's a pattern illustration. When you're making yours, if you want it to be a bit free, go ahead to add 2 or 3 inches. So I marked my waist circumference divided by 4 and added the sewing allowance. Here I'll mark the hip circumference divided by 4 and I'll add the sewing allowance. So for your shirt length, go ahead to use your desired length for the shirt. So I'll just go ahead and connect the rest of my pattern. I'll go ahead and use my marker to outline this, and this is what I have. So you can draw a curve at the lower part, which I'll be doing later. So I'll just go ahead and cut out this pattern, and we're going to use it to trace out the back part of the shirt. So after cutting this down, you want to go ahead to fold in the zipper allowance. So after folding in the zipper allowance, I placed it on another pattern paper and I'm going to pin it down. After pinning it down, I'll go ahead to just trace out what I have around the pattern, and I'll also outline the shoulder and armhole for reference purpose. For the neckline of the back, I'll be using 3 by 1 inch. That means I'll go up by 1 inch at this point and I will connect. So I'll just go ahead and cut out the rest of my pattern. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. So now I'll go ahead and open up my pattern. That is after I'm done cutting out, and I'll just label this as front and back. And for the back pattern, you're going to cut it on fold, and for the front pattern, you'll be cutting out 2 separate pieces for it. So at the lower part, I'll go ahead to blend it together, and I'll be going up by 1 inch or ½ inch there and create like a slight curve by the side. So I just want to have this stylish curve by the side of the shirt, and this is what I have. So for a normal shirt, you can go ahead to leave your pattern this way, but if you want to have a come down from the front to the back, all you have to do is minus your come down from the front. So let's say I'm going to go ahead to take out 1 inch from the front shoulder, and I'll just go ahead to mark it out. So after that, I'll be cutting this part, and whatever you take out from this part, you're going to replace it to the shoulder of the back part of the dress. So now I'll go ahead and add another pattern paper, and that 1 inch I took out, I'll be replacing it. So you can also use 1.5 inches for your come down for the back of your shirt. So I'll just go ahead and trace out this part, and then I'll go ahead to measure that 1 inch that I took out from the front side, adding it back to the shoulder. So this is not compulsory. You can decide to have a come down at your shoulder, or you can just go ahead to leave your shirt this way. After you're done cutting it out this way, so this is what you have. When you place your shirt this way, this part will be making up for the part that was cut out from your dress. So next, you want to go ahead to cut out the collar for your dress, and the measurement you need is your neckline, the neckline of your dress. So for this pattern, we are going to be cutting it on fold, and what you do is place your tape, and you're going to measure this all around your neckline and go ahead to take the measurement. After I was done taking that, I have 10.5 inches, and I'll be using it to cut out my collar. So just know that this 10.5 inches is on fold, meaning the round collar of my dress is about 21 inches. So now I'll go ahead and measure that 10.5 inches. Now that 10.5 inches, I'll go ahead to divide it into 2, because I want to create like a little slope on the collar stand of the dress. So I'll just mark it at this point. So after marking it at that 10.5 inches, I'll come up by 1/2 inch, and now I'll place my curve drew, connecting all the way from that point I have at the midpoint of the pattern to the other end. So for the collar stand of my shirt, I'm going to be using 1 inch. You can also use 1.5 inches, and I'll go ahead to connect this to the end, place my curve drew, and I will connect from the front part to the other side and also connect it to the end. Now you want to make a straight line at this point. So now at the collar, collar stand, I'll go ahead and outline it, and after I'm done outlining it, at this point I'll create like a curve for the collar stand. So just know that we are cutting a 2-in-1 collar, meaning we are cutting the collar together with the collar stand. If not, you can just go ahead and cut it separately. So now I'll be using 2 inches for the collar, sorry, 2.5 inches for the collar. You go ahead and connect this all the way to the end, and after that you're going to go ahead to connect from this part also. So after I'm done connecting, you want to go ahead and mark 1/2 inch all the way out to mark an extension, and then you're going to connect it back to this point. So this will be serving as your collar, and I'll go ahead to outline this with my marker. After this, we are done marking out the collar. I'll go ahead to label it and cut it out. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. So now we're going to cut out the sleeve for the dress, and I'll mark here as the starting line, and I'll go ahead to mark the shoulder to elbow point, and then mark your sleeve length wherever it ends. So after that, I'll just go ahead to draw out a straight line on those points. Next is to find your sleeve cap height, and to do that is your bust circumference divided by 12 plus 0.5 inches. Mine is 3.25, and sometimes I make use or I approximate it to 3.5. I'll rule out a line at that point. So at your sleeve cap height, you're going to go ahead to mark your armhole circumference divided by 2. Mine is 16 divided by 2. I have 8, and I'll go ahead to mark at this point. So after I'm done marking, you're going to connect from this point to the tip of your pattern paper, And after connecting, now you're going to go ahead to divide what you have into 2 and you will mark. After marking, you're going to go ahead to measure one side, divide it into 2 and mark. From here, I'll come up by 1/2 inch. At the other side, I'll divide what I have to and I'll mark, come down by 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do next is to connect all these points now. Connect from the midpoint to the 1/2 inch and to the tip of the pattern or my starting line. Connect from the midpoint to the 1/2 inch I came down in and to where the armhole circumference stops. After this, I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline these points. So after I'm done outlining, at the elbow point, go ahead to insert your elbow circumference and add your sewing allowance. Mark your sleeve circumference and add your sewing allowance, and then go ahead to connect. So the sleeve that we have on the thumbnail is a bit free, so you can go ahead to make yours free. After this, I'll just use my marker to connect and I'll cut this out. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. If you find this video very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also leave your comment at the comment section. Also add 1/2 inch on top for the joining allowance of the sleeve.